Hi, I'm Veronica and welcome to my channel. This is one of a series of videos that is going to help you to deal and reverse the roundness in the shoulders and that chronic tension you have in front of the chest along your collarbones. After doing a few somatic movements, which you can check out in the previous episodes, we'll move on to the restorative pose. If you haven't done it yet, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button so that you don't miss any of this series. After starting the process of repatterning that chronic tension you might be holding in your shoulders, it's pretty much as simple as purposefully tensing up and kind of exaggerating that shape and consciously releasing them. You can move on to a different method that works in a completely different level. And the mistake that you see a lot is all this kind of big chest openers, restorative or yin poses, or all sorts of yoga poses where you're being told to stay in that really very open shape. But if that rounded shape is something that you're feeling very familiar with, very safe in that shape, because it is a typically protective shape. That's the shape you take to make sure that nothing happens to your heart, to your vital organs. It's instinctive. It's your protective pattern. So if you want to go to opposite shape, all of a sudden, without any preparation, it is not going to feel familiar or safe in your body. And if something doesn't feel safe or familiar for your nervous system, the nervous system will send the signals, okay, this is danger. What do you do when you feel danger? You tense up in that protection pattern. So we absolutely don't want that. That's why I want to show you the way that will tell your nervous system that you can completely release and let go. So it will be the familiar shape, it will be the comfortable shape of staying in that rounded position. And you might be thinking, well, how the heck is it gonna help me to get into that opposite shape? Why would I stay for a long time in a rounded shape if that's supposed to be bad for me? Well, this is to give the message to your nervous system that it doesn't need to create that tension that is always there, that it doesn't need to hold that chronic tension, that you can be held from below with the help of props. And that is when the release happens. So that the release has to happen in the comfortable shape. And only after this happens, you can move on to the opposite shape. Now, the restorative poses sometimes do some pretty profound shifts. They can release something that you were holding, some emotional stuff that you were holding for a long time. So be prepared that while you're staying in this pose for a long time, you might start experiencing some inexplicable, strong emotional responses. And please don't suppress them. If you feel like crying, cry. It might be also other emotion coming up. Whatever it is, let it happen. If, of course, at any point you stop feeling comfortable, you readjust, you move. It's meant to be fully comfortable position. If it stops being comfortable, the whole purpose of this practice is not there anymore. Okay? Yeah, so with that little introduction, you're going to set yourself up and you're going to need quite a few props. So get yourself ready a big and thick blanket. That's the most important. You might also need a couple of cushions, and some might be for propping your legs, some might be for propping your shoulders. So the more you have, the better, because you can play around with those props. And an additional blanket might be useful too. Everything is done lying down and in stillness, so make sure that you're warm. The setup might take a while, but it's totally worth it. So first you need to have your blanket wide enough so that it's definitely wider than your shoulders, quite a bit wider than your shoulders, and long enough so that it's going to support your upper back, maybe till the end of your shoulder blades. And once you've got that, you want to tuck one part of it under so that your head and your neck will be higher than your back, higher than the upper back. So the upper back is still supported with the blanket, but the head and the neck are higher. That already gets you into this sort of rounded shape. And additionally, you want to create a little bit of tucking on either side so that it really gets you into that fully rounded shape, as if you're a mummy. All right? So this is the setup for the upper part of the body. Now, as for the lower portion of the body, you can choose what is going to be more comfortable for you. So if you go for legs long, make sure that you have a cushion underneath each thigh, because otherwise it's going to put a pressure on your lower back, and there's no point to have any position that is going to put pressure anywhere in your body. Otherwise, you can have your knees bent and feet on the mat, and that's what I'm going to do. Additionally, for that extra layer of comfort and safety, you could have something like a heavy cushion to place over your belly or to cover yourself with a blanket. So get yourself set up with the head and neck supported by the higher part of your prop, and then that extra folding at either end so that you'll get that feeling of roundedness. Now, if you still feel that there's not enough of this roundedness in the shoulders, you might use, for example, a block or a couple of cushions, whatever you have, so that it does create this rounded shape. So the best definitely want to have that feeling that you are cocooned, wrapped up in a rounded, kind of really closed shape. This is what you're looking for. The legs, as I said, if they're long, place something underneath your thighs. Otherwise, keep your knees bent and the feet on the mat. You can cover yourself with a blanket. You can have something heavy over your belly. You can have your hands anywhere over your belly, which in itself is very soothing. And maybe in the chest, maybe on the belly, wherever you want them to be. So you're staying in this rounded shape. And this first few moments, don't come into that stillness in a rigid way. So first, move around and check, is there anything else that I can do now to make this position more comfortable for me? So maybe you want to have a feeling that your head is even more kind of enclosed. Or maybe you don't really feel that the shoulders are rounded and you need to add something to create that roundedness there. Or maybe you feel that your elbows are kind of floating in the air, they don't feel supported. So remember, whatever position you have chosen, you definitely want to get the feeling that all parts of the body are fully supported, especially your head, your neck, your shoulders, and your arms. Nothing is hanging. There's nothing that would give you an impression that you have to hold yourself in this shape. It is the shape that holds you, that is fully comforting, where you can sink into it and stay forever in a maximum comfort, okay? And probably it will feel, if you have the tendency to round the shoulders, it will feel familiar. It will feel in some way soothing to be in that slightly rounded and enclosed shape. You can have your eyes open if closing your eyes, especially if closing your eyes makes you feel a little bit uncertain, you feel nicer with the eyes open, feel free to look at the ceiling. If it feels easier to connect with yourself, close your eyes. Up to you. And once you made all these adjustments, with eyes open or closed, you can for a moment direct your attention to your breath. And perhaps it's easier for you to feel the breath as your hands move. With every inhalation, they lift. With each exhalation, they fall towards the floor. You're not trying to slow down or do anything in particular with your breath. You let it be as it wants to be. We are not trying to fix or change anything through this practice. It is meant only to create that feeling of safety and comfort in your body, nothing else. So perhaps as you start spending a little bit longer time here, you might notice that the body is already accommodating itself a little bit more and sinking a little bit deeper into the ground. And the breath can help you with that process. Perhaps you notice that every time you exhale, it feels like a bit of softening, a bit of dropping deeper into those soft and warm support that is underneath you. If you feel like making some sounds or some micro movements at any point, please feel to include that. You're not meant to be stiff here. And sometimes that sighing breath out helps you in that process of melting. So your whole focus is really on that contact that the back body has with whatever is underneath it. You might feel the solidity of the floor underneath your legs or feet. How your pelvis and sacrum sink into the ground on each exhale. And you feel how the upper back, the shoulders sink into that soft, warm blanket. How you're wrapped up and cocooned. And notice how does it feel for the body, and if there's any response of softening, or melting, or releasing. Once you give yourself that message, the internal message that there is nothing here to do, nothing to achieve, nothing to hold. Notice how does it feel in your body to actually be held, to be held from underneath, to receive that support. For some people, The visualization will be helpful. So you could imagine that you are being held with some giant, gentle, warm hands. Maybe you want to imagine that you're being held by the Mother Earth itself. Choose any visualization that works for you, that will encourage you in that process of melting. Can you allow, just for those few minutes, something else take over all that holding? How does it feel when you are held, embraced, cocooned in that warm, comfortable, safe space? Maybe you can check if there's any part of your body that still feels a little rigid, a little alert, and send to it that invitation to release, soften. It is an open invitation. And notice if there's any sign of need to have a deep breath in or out, or some little movement, a little sound even. Let it come out, let it happen. If there's anything at all you can do to make it more comfortable, any slightest shifts, don't be afraid to do that. It's not a rigid stillness, it's a restful stillness. And for everybody, this process will be very different and will take a different amount of time. Perhaps it's just the beginning for you. You are only noticing some first little responses, little moments, as if you sunk a bit deeper. Sometimes it's almost sudden, that moment of release, and sometimes it's so gradual that it's almost impossible to notice. If you struggle with a lot of commentary from your mind, a lot of thoughts that take you away from your body, this is the pattern that has been with you for a long time. So do not fight it. Rather be curious about it. Notice that it happened. And maybe the most soothing and interesting is your body. That sensation of being supported and held. Or maybe the safest might feel your breath. The fact that everything expands on the inhale and everything naturally releases. has its little break when you exhale. You might even notice that little pause after the exhale, the moment of complete stillness before you take the next inhale. And for some people, this idea of staying in stillness might feel unsafe in its own, might feel triggering. So if you're feeling that rather than softening, you're feeling more tense, start with very short moments of stillness and gradually build it up. If you're feeling here very good and you feel like staying here much longer, please feel free to stay for another 5-10 minutes, as long as you wish. So there's no magic time that this exercise should take. It's very individual. I will slowly start encouraging now my body to move again and to reconnect with the world around. But if you want to continue, pause the video and stay in stillness longer. So you might begin with opening your eyes if they were closed, so that you connect with the environment around you, but still, maybe even as you connect with it, you can have that feeling that the whole upper body feels quite relaxed. And maybe by now, really, you feel you need to move. And that might be something like a gentle rock in the pelvis, a little bit of a movement in the head. And then you're going to come out of this very, very slowly and gradually so that you don't lose that feeling that has built up over a couple of minutes. So you might remove whatever you had on your belly, including your own hands. If you had those extra supports at either side of the arms, you might slide them away now. And then super, super slowly, you can start rolling all the way to one side. Staying on the side for a moment. And then with as little disturbance as possible, see if you can slide that blanket away from you so that you could make your way directly down onto the ground. And notice, how does your body rest on the ground? As you might remember it from other episodes of the series, how you would normally land the first thing on the ground. And yes, please let me know. I bet you feel something quite new in the way you relate to the ground and you receive that support underneath you. It might feel quite different. So you don't even need to do this opening to start feeling the effect of release that happens when you are in rounded shape. Whenever you're ready for that, you might make some movements, anything that your body needs now. After staying in stillness for a while, your body might feel like moving a bit. And then you can roll to one side and slowly come up. And as you're up, check how does it feel to be upright. Where is your head and shoulders, the front and back body in space? How grounded you feel? Maybe how different it feels from what you know. Please don't forget to share with me what you have experienced. And I welcome you to try the next week's episode when we're gonna move to that open shape as well. Ideally, it's good to do these two in combination. And if you would like to work one to one with me, so that I take into consideration not only everything that happens within your body, but also within your mind, your whole personal history, to create a very individualized support for your healing journey. You can check my program, VIP Health Program. I will link it in the description below. Thank you very much and see you next.